Good day, my name is Elena Marilisa and this is my reflection on the teaching of the lesson plan I created in Activity 2. My lesson was conducted under the topic 3D Objects in Mathematics Grade 3. This lesson was broken down into 3 phases, which are introduction, development, as well as consolidation in meeting all the lesson objectives. What are lesson objectives? Lesson objectives are the skills that we want learners to achieve at the end of the lesson, right? So we had 3 lesson objectives for this lesson, which are: at the end of the lesson, learners should be able to define what are 3D objects. 2, they should describe properties of different 3D objects. And thirdly, learners should identify 2D objects that make up a 3D object and create their own 3D object. Right. So in coming up with our lesson objectives, we ensure that they are SMART, meaning that they're specific, measurable, time bound criteria, as well as they are relevant. Okay. For each phase, I had to create an activity. So for introduction, development, as well as consolidation, each had to have its own activity that integrated ICT tools. So the importance of ICT tools is to move learners from being passive learners to active learners, right? So for introduction, where learners were required to know the definition of 3D objects, they had to complete a Kahoot quiz, right? So this Kahoot quiz had sounds as well as images to help the learners to understand more about the concept. So the importance of, or the best part of using quiz activities is that they give immediate feedback of the lesson. So as you go on from one question to another, you get a feedback from what you are learning and you're improving as you go, right? And then for development, we used a Microsoft Word document where learners had to complete an activity where they had to describe what the properties are of different 3D objects. So they were given an object of a 3D object, and then they had to describe their properties according to the corners as well as the flat faces of the objects. For consolidation, we used a YouTube video. So one thing I love about YouTube videos is that they are very informative and they are able to transfer learners from being passive to active learners by allowing them to pause and then continue with the lesson, right? So with these activities, learners were required to create their own 3D objects. With regards to the SAMR model, our introduction was of the level of augmentation because we had a direct substitution of technology, which included the quiz. So learners had to complete an activity through a quiz, right? And then secondly, for the development, the learners had to write a Word document. And this level was of substitution because we no longer used whiteboards or chalkboards, but then they had to complete the activities via the Microsoft Word, right? And then lastly, it's also the SMR level of augmentation because now learners were not listening from a teacher, but then they were listening from a YouTube video. So that substitution of moving from listening to a teacher to an online person via YouTube shows that technology was integrated in that manner.